I remember the exact moment I realized my mother had stolen my entire future. I was sitting at the kitchen table staring at my bank app, watching the balance drop from $82,347 down to $127 in a matter of seconds as the transaction history loaded. My heart stopped. My hands started shaking so badly I nearly dropped my phone. $82,000, every single dollar I had scraped together since I was 14, was gone. And every transaction, every withdrawal, every transfer, all of them were signed by her. My own mother. Can you even imagine that kind of betrayal? The person who brought you into this world, who's supposed to love you unconditionally, just takes everything you've built and spends it like it's hers to burn. My name is Emily Harper, and this is the story of how I lost my college fund, my trust and almost my mind, and how I got the most satisfying revenge I could have ever dreamed of. Let's go back a bit, because you need to understand who my mom really was. Growing up, everyone on the outside thought she was the perfect suburban mom. Karen Harper. Yes, her real name was actually Karen, which should have been the first red flag. She was the queen of the PTA, always volunteering to organize bake sales and school events, posting perfectly filtered photos on Facebook of us smiling together at holidays. But behind closed doors, it was a completely different story. From as early as I can remember, Mom treated life like a competition she had to win. If someone in the neighborhood got a new car, she needed a better one. If another mom went on a cruise, suddenly we deserved a bigger vacation, even if it meant maxing out credit cards. She called it keeping up appearances, but really, it was just unchecked entitlement. And I was always the one who paid the price. Dad left when I was 9. He just couldn't take the constant spending and the fights anymore. After the divorce, Mom got the house, primary custody, and a decent child support check every month. But it was never enough for her. She always wanted more. More clothes, more jewelry, more trips with her new friends from the country club. And whenever money got tight, she'd guilt me into helping out. I started babysitting at 12. By 14, I had a part-time job at a local cafe after school. Every paycheck went straight into a savings account my dad had helped me open before he moved across the country. He told me, this is for your future. College, an apartment, whatever you want. Don't let anyone touch it. I took that seriously. I worked weekends, holidays, summer breaks. I skipped prom dresses, spring break trips with friends, new phones. Everything went into that account. By the time I was 18, I'd saved almost $40,000 on my own. Dad quietly matched a big chunk of it as a graduation gift. Bringing it to just over $82,000, it was enough for a full ride at my dream state. University, tuition, books, housing, everything. I was going to study biomedical engineering. I had the acceptance letter framed on my wall. I was so proud. I'd done it all myself, with a little help from Dad. Mom knew about the account. She'd asked about it a few times over the years, always with that fake sweet tone. Honey, you know if you ever need anything, you can just ask Mommy. I always brushed it off. I didn't want her anywhere near my money. I'd seen how fast she could blow through cash. Senior year flew by, and suddenly it was summer before college. I turned in my housing deposit, bought my textbooks early to save money, and started packing. Everything felt perfect. Then one afternoon in July, I logged into my bank app to transfer money for my meal plan. That's when I saw it. The balance was almost zero. I refreshed the app 3 times, thinking it was a glitch. No, not a glitch. I clicked into the transaction history, and my stomach dropped through the floor. Over the past 8 months, starting right after my 18th birthday, there were dozens of transfers. $5,000 here, $10,000 there, a few $3,000 withdrawals labeled ATM, all signed digitally with my mother's name. She'd somehow gotten access to my account. The final nail in the coffin? A $22,000 transfer 3 weeks earlier to a travel agency for a luxury Mediterranean cruise for 2. My blood was boiling. I felt like I was going to throw up. I stormed downstairs, phone in hand, and found her in the living room scrolling through Instagram, sipping wine. Mom? I said, trying to keep my voice steady. We need to talk, now. She looked up, all innocent. What's wrong, sweetie? I held up my phone. $82,000 is missing from my college account. And every single transaction has your name on it. Explain. For a split second, her face went pale. Then she recovered, putting on that fake concerned mom expression. Oh, honey, there must be some mistake. Maybe identity theft? We should call the bank. Mom, I said, voice shaking with rage. Your name is literally on every transfer. You forged my digital signature or something. How did you even get access? She sighed, set her wine glass down, and looked at me like I was a child throwing a tantrum. "Emily, calm down. Yes, I used some of the money. But it was for family expenses. The roof needed repairs, the car broke down. $22,000 on a cruise." I cut her off. "With who, Greg? Your boyfriend of the month?" Her eyes narrowed. "Watch your tone. I raised you, clothed you, fed you for 18 years. That money was sitting there doing nothing. I needed it more than some future college fund. You can always take out loans." I couldn't believe the words coming out of her mouth. That was my money. I earned every cent. Dad helped. It was for my future. She shrugged. "You're young. You'll make more. I'm your mother. I deserve to enjoy life too." I stood there, tears streaming down my face, feeling like the floor had disappeared beneath me. She didn't even apologize. She didn't even pretend to feel bad. She just picked up her wine again and went back to her phone. I walked out of the house that night and drove to my best friend Sarah's place. I cried for hours. How was I supposed to go to college now? Loans would bury me in debt for decades. My dream was gone. But as I lay on Sarah's couch that night, something shifted inside me. The sadness turned into pure, ice-cold anger. She thought she could just take what was mine and face no consequences. She was wrong. I spent the next week researching quietly. First, I went to the bank with my ID and proof that I was the primary account holder. They confirmed she'd gained access by using my social security number, which she obviously had, and answering security. Questions only a mother would know. The bank froze what little was left and started an investigation for fraud. Then I talked to my dad. He was livid. He immediately hired a lawyer friend of his to look into pressing charges for theft and identity fraud. But here's where the mid-story twist hit me like a truck. While the lawyer was gathering documents, he discovered something insane. Mom had been doing this for years, not just to me. She'd opened credit cards in my name when I was 16, racking up $18,000 in debt I didn't know about. My credit score was destroyed. She'd used my identity to finance her lifestyle long before she touched the college fund. I felt sick all over again. This wasn't a one-time desperate act. This was calculated, ongoing theft. Dad's lawyer said we had a rock-solid case. Criminal charges were possible. Felony theft, identity theft, the works. But Mom would likely get probation at worst, maybe restitution ordered. It wouldn't hit her hard enough. I wanted her to feel what I felt. I wanted her world to crumble. So I came up with a plan, a multi-step, nuclear-level revenge that would expose her to everyone she cared about impressing. Step 1. I moved out permanently. Dad helped me get a small apartment near campus, and I enrolled in community college to start while I rebuilt. I took out the smallest loans possible and got scholarships wherever I could. It wasn't my dream school, but I wasn't giving up. Step 2. I gathered every shred of evidence. Bank statements, credit reports, screenshots of her cruise bookings, even photos of her posting on social media from exotic locations with captions like, "Living my best life," while I was working double shifts. Step 3, I waited. Mom's big annual end of summer charity gala was coming up, the event she organized every year to show off how generous and connected she was. All her country club friends, the other PTA moms, local business owners, everyone who mattered to her would be there. 2 weeks before the gala, I anonymously mailed thick packets to 30 of her closest friends and acquaintances. Inside, printed bank statements showing the transfers from my account, the cruise bookings, the credit cards in my name, and a detailed timeline titled, "How Karen Harper Stole Her Daughter's Future." I included a polite cover letter. "You may want to know who you're supporting at this year's charity event." Then, the night of the gala, I showed up. Not as a guest, as the caterer. I'd taken a one-night gig with the catering company through a friend. I wore the uniform, kept my head down, and watched. Mom was in her element at first. Designer gown, champagne in hand, laughing loudly with her circle. Then people started pulling her aside. Faces turned serious. Whispers spread. One woman actually gasped and walked away mid-conversation. By the end of the night, half the guests had left early. Donations were the lowest in years. Sponsors pulled out for next year. Mom stood alone near the bar, face red, clutching her phone like it could save her. But I wasn't done. The next week, the bank fraud investigation concluded. They ruled in my favor. Mom was ordered to repay every cent, plus interest. She didn't have it, of course. The cruise, the bags, the new furniture, it was all spent. Her house went into foreclosure 6 months later. She had to sell at a loss. Her boyfriend Greg dumped her the day the foreclosure notice went public. Her friends stopped inviting her to events. She ended up moving into a tiny apartment and taking a low-paying retail job, the kind I'd worked as a teen. And the criminal charges? Dad pushed forward. She took a plea deal to avoid jail. 5 years probation, mandatory restitution payments, and a permanent mark on her record that shows up on every background check. Last I heard, she tried to apply for a better job and got rejected because of the felony theft conviction. She's paying me $500 a month for the next 15 years. It barely covers interest, but every direct deposit notification feels like sweet, sweet justice. I graduated last year, with honors, from the university I originally wanted. Dad helped a little. Scholarships covered a lot, and sheer determination did the rest. I'm debt-free now, working in a lab I love, building the future she tried to steal. Sometimes, I wonder if she ever thinks about that day in the living room when she shrugged and said, I could just take out loans. I bet she does. I bet she thinks about it every time another door closes in her face. Who? Did this one give you that satisfying chill?